From her Under My Skin album, that's Avril Lavigne and Nobody's Home on 1FM 91.3. This is The Morning Drive with Kerry Chong and Lynette Tan with you because FD is away at the moment.
Yes, and talking about homes, we've got the perfect person in the studio today with us. It's Yamini from the Straits Times. Hello, hello.
Hi. Nice to be here again, as always.
Yes, welcome back. So today, an interesting article that you wrote, right, about homes getting smaller here in Singapore, which is true because if you look at all the new apartments, the new HDBs, it is small and a lot of space that's just unusable, right? So we want to talk about that. Specifically, this article focuses on this girl. Her name is Sasha, right? And how her parents moved into a smaller place and also how she carved out her little cozy corner for herself. Tell us about that.
So yeah, actually, like the place that they moved to in Punggol, literally on the doorstep of the sea, it's 10 square feet smaller only, but because there's now a corridor there, so newer flats have like a corridor that sort of takes up some of the square footage. So that's actually partly why homes have gotten functionally smaller, even though HDB will probably call me up and be like, no, they've been the same size. But you know, the space is just, this layout has changed. So Sasha has an older sister, she's 24, and her older sister's 30, and she shared a room with her sister all her life. She was just like, I really want my own room, but there's only 2 bedrooms, one for her parents, one for the kids. So like, how, where? She wanted the bomb shelter, but bomb shelter, you can't do a lot of things to it. You can't do anything structurally, basically. So no ventilation.
Yeah.
So everyone was like, no, you can't use the bomb shelter. So what's next? Service yard. Her mom couldn't use it, wanted to use it for a home office, didn't work out. So she was like, okay, this is my new space. She went to look for furniture for it and figure out how to just deck it out. It's a very small space, like less than 2 by 2 meters.
But she looks so happy, you know.
No. So I'm just curious. Service yard is where you do your laundry and all that, right?
Yeah, in a lot of flats, it's actually like literally an open space. Like there's no window, nothing. So
Correct.
actually, Sasha's family had to add a window.
So that's allowed.
Yes, adding a window is allowed.
Okay.
I mean, you can't adding a window, since there was a hole there, so they just put a frame and a window. Like it's not like they cut over.
Okay. But the family doesn't do the washing in the service yard anymore?
Yeah, so they basically slightly reconfigured their kitchen layout to put the washing machine right outside the service yard in the kitchen. So it's like stacked one on top of each other, which is actually a lot of families are doing that to try and make space for the washing machine and dryer. No space for 2 appliances, right? I mean,
Right. But still, it does get a little bit more stuffy with all the heat from the kitchen, right?
Yeah. And also just it's a small space, so she has added like a tiny little light with a fan. It's a very small light. It looks like a light, not a ceiling fan, but it's got a fan, and she's got a standing fan. She's looking into maybe trying to figure a 3rd fan, and there's no space for an air condition. And
does she have a work desk as well?
Yes.
Wow. Okay,
Yes.
so this is in the article that Yamini wrote. You can actually see pictures of Sasha. She looks so happy. But we're going to go on Facebook right now and talk a little bit more, so join us there. Okay, so what made you decide to explore this particular topic, the rise of smaller living spaces?
Right. So in Sasha's story, it was like sort of it exemplified all the things that are quite interesting about what we are doing with these smaller spaces. Because, so you asked, does she have like a work desk? She does, because like the bed, it's an IKEA bed, but I think a lot of other furniture stores are offering these like sort of multifunctional furnitures. So a bed that comes with underneath, there's a desk, there's a closet, a tiny little closet, and so and I've noticed that when I was a teenager, okay, this was like 20 years ago, there was maybe like one loft bed, maybe at a place like IKEA, like a Western store, only 1 or 2 options for loft beds. Now I'm seeing so many more places offering these loft beds. People are ordering from Taobao and getting it shipped from China. I'm seeing in my condo compared to like 20 years ago, like so many kids' bedrooms having these loft beds because they can put something underneath. And I think it's just because Singapore, we have a very finite amount of space and the population is only growing. There's only so much land you can reclaim. Only so high that you can build up in certain places. So people are just thinking, okay, how can we make the best of what we have?
Yeah, how can we create space?
Yeah. And actually, condos are actually getting smaller.
It is.
Why? I mean, I think it's a combination of factors. I mean, I think part of it, maybe that en bloc boom that happened a couple of years ago. You know, they buy like 10 flats for like however million, and they're like, well, we overpaid for this. Maybe we gotta
now we gotta build like 20.
Then how? Gotta build them smaller, lor. Yeah, build them smaller. But also, I think more people are trying to move out. More adults are trying to move out. So I think even like parents are also thinking, let's downsize when we're older. Let's move into these smaller places. And then maybe some of these adults move back in because they're like, oh, okay, you know, like job market not so good, and you know, like, so I think it's really like, you can't necessarily pin it to like one thing, like, you know, one factor. I think it's a combination of different things happening and different trends that are sort of going on.
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem that's unique to Singapore. Globally, everywhere else, we're just lacking space. So you're just getting smaller. You're building a lot more apartments to accommodate a bigger population. So there are some clever makeovers in Sasha's, case. This conversion from service yard to bedroom. Are there any other examples that you've encountered while doing the story?
Well, I mean, not necessarily during this story. Although one lady messaged me saying, like, during the pandemic, she had converted her bomb shelter into a home gym / home office.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was like, why not? Why not, right?
Because otherwise, it's just used for storage.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, you can put the laundry system on the ceiling, so you can tuck it away when you're sort of not using it. So the bottom, you can still use it for other things. So I think a lot of people are doing things like that. Even my own place, I've got like a table that sort of folds down. It's called a gate leg table, so I can push it to the side when I'm not using it, and when people come over I can just sort of expand it. And again, I'm seeing so many more of these sort of like multifunctional furniture options for people, just trying to figure out, okay, how can we make the best of this space? I only have so many rooms, like I need, like, I don't have space for home gym. Dining room, all of that, right? So like,
but can you imagine gymming in your bomb shelter? There's no ventilation. It's gonna be so hot.
Not bomb shelter, service yard.
Oh, service yard. Okay, never mind. Burn more fat because you sweat more.
Hot yoga and your bomb shelter could work, honestly.
Okay, maybe. You mentioned as well design trends and innovations playing a big part in this. You think it's they're reacting to the apartments getting smaller?
Yes, but also I think, do you guys remember there was like a tiny home revolution in the United States? Basically, people literally building these small little tiny homes. And I think that just kind of spurred global design trends towards like more minimalist and sort of Japan is very popular in Singapore, and that's the core of it. And minimalism, they're just sort of reducing the amount of clutter and space and things, right? So, and I think there's like a sort of like a movement against consumerism and materialism. Now in Singapore, I think, unfortunately, and I'm part of this, okay, I'm not saying that I'm not part of this, like, we are also obsessed with things.
Yes.
And I think people are starting to realize maybe there's more to life than things, and I think that's why we're seeing an interest in Japandi and minimalism, because people are like, can we sort of actually just cut down? Marie Kondo, like, keep what brings you joy. And even I think that applies to spaces, home spaces. Like, do we need so much space? And it's a hassle to clean a big space.
Yeah, right. No, that's the thing, right? The more space you have, the more clutter there is.
Exactly.
Yes. So if you keep it small, then you're like, okay,
less to clean.
No choice.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, no choice. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that's what I should do. So much stuff at home.
Well, yeah, I just moved out of my parents' place into my own place, and actually that has forced me to declutter, because I'm like, how did I accumulate so much stuff in my parents' house? I was, going unchecked. I was running wild. I was a feral animal hoarding, basically.
And also because it's your own space, you want to keep it clean and tidy and presentable. It's no longer like, okay, mom will pick up after me. Yeah, or like we'll find space. We'll make space. I'll drift into my parents' like cupboards and stuff. No, there's nothing like that.
It's a homeowner's pride, I think.
Yes.
Absolutely. So coming to this psychological or social impacts, what did you observe among adults carving out personal space in Thai homes?
Yeah, so I think like it's definitely people, maybe it's a more modern thing, I guess, as we realize we need this sort of personal space to sort of self-care a bit, just get away from, like our parents. And I think we're also a lot more independent nowadays. So I think just having a space that you can make your own and say, this is my space, I'll decorate it how I want it. When you're sharing a space, when you're living in your parents' house as well, a lot of these situations we're seeing that's older kids with parents, you're respecting your parents' decisions on what to do with the space, right? So, but the room that they have, like Sasha's bedroom, it's her place that she can do what she wants with. Obviously, still, not going too crazy.
Yep.
But, she can decorate it how she wants. She can go to sleep whenever she wants and not think like, oh, I'm disturbing my sister. Oh, gosh, my sister's still awake. I can't, or like she can sort of just like, do her prayers and not have to worry, not move to the living room where maybe her mother's watching TV. There's things like that where I think we take it for granted, like how important it is. And I think a lot of people realized during the pandemic how important having your own
setting
space
boundaries is
Exactly.
very important.
Because you're home a lot and then you realize, okay, I need sort of like a sanctuary
Exactly.
of my own, right? So that is probably driving this whole trend. Aside from that, I don't know, you think it's because it's impossible for anyone to kind of afford a place these days. The rising costs of owning your own place, it is ridiculous. I mean, an HDB can cost like $1 million. Who's got that kind of money at what? 28, 30 even.
I mean, we're even seeing, I think yesterday there was a headline about the government building more homes so that private homeowners can downgrade because they are just like, oh no, we can't keep up with can't keep up with these payments and things.
Yep.
So, there's been interesting trends to that point, like these dual key HDB flats that are sort of popping up. People basically carving out bedrooms or sort of and making them to studio apartments. So if you have a very old HDB flat, maybe you have a very big master bedroom, you could probably have space to build a little kitchenette in one corner, and then just a little kitchenette in one corner, a ensuite bathroom, and if your layout kind of suits it, if it's right next to the main door, you can just make a little foyer, like build a new two main doors.
Okay, wait. So this dual key concept, right? It's legal.
Okay, yes, it's legal, but you got to do under HDB regulations. So basically, you can't try to like move the bathrooms. You have to still, and you still have to get it approved, lah. Basically.
Okay,
so, yeah.
right. But it's not for you to monetize the space. Like, for instance, if let's say it's just me and like elderly couple, and then they want to like rent out this other sort of
yes, if you're under the
apartment
minimum
space.
occupation period, you can't rent out the whole flat. But from what I understand, you can rent out part of it, and I think that's what some people are doing. You can rent out one bedroom. Yes.
Okay.
Now I could be
No,
getting.
you could, but then to create an entirely separate apartment.
It's within one. It's still the same main door, main gate, still same entrance.
Right.
But inside, once you step in, there's two entrances.
Exactly.
So it's like kind of like what happens within your own walls.
Yeah.
It's kind of up to you.
So
basically.
that's allowed. Oh, okay, interesting. Let's talk more when we go back on air.
Thompson Twins for ya. Hold Me Now on 1FM 91.3. It's
Hello.
the morning drive. Yes, I've got to get used to saying that. This is the morning drive with Kerry Chong and Lynette Tan because FD is over in Penang at the moment.
Okay, so with us here today, Yamini. Thanks for joining us once again. Yamini is a lifestyle correspondent from the Straits Times, and interesting article she wrote about making full use of smaller living spaces here in Singapore, and it's a global problem or issue. People are just running out of space. Well, we're running out of space, right? So we were talking about dual key.
Dual key HDB flats. So we've seen dual key condos which are built to have two entrances and like sort of partition spaces. So people in HDBs, if the layout kind of suits it, they're basically, you go into the main door and they've built a foyer with two more doors.
Yeah.
So then like two different flats, maybe like a little tiny little studio and maybe like a one bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
So I've seen a few cases where like maybe an older HDB flat, there's enough space to literally make the master bedroom into a little studio apartment with a kitchenette. Just add the kitchenette and then carve it out. In another case, they had to cut down one bedroom to sort of make it into a sizable studio with a living area and all that. In another space, actually, and one example was they were not renting out the room, but it was for the kids, the daughter and son-in-law to move in so they're nearby, but they have their own space. They can cook their own food if they want to, or they can hop over to see mom. Got privacy, like come home late at night and not have to worry about disturbing parents, which I thought was actually a really nice way of doing the sort of multi-generational home.
Exactly.
Making it work for you in a way that you can, because then there are options out there. HDB is definitely trying to give people options, but they're limited, and you kind of just have to make do with what you have, right? As well. Yeah.
And this is all legal, just no massive restructuring.
Yeah, you still have to get approval for HDB for these renovations. Yeah, okay. And now I'm also anticipating some like messages for HDB. Like, hey, Yamini, just want to talk to you. But no, it is legal as long as you get approvals and you're not doing things like knocking down walls without permission or trying to like move your toilet around. You can't do that. Yeah.
It's interesting to me, this dual key concept, because I think I see it working, especially here in Singapore with the lack of space. And then if you want to encourage your kids to be nearby, that's the next best alternative, right?
Yeah, and I hear co-living spaces are actually, contacting owners of older units asking, hey, do you want to work together to partition a room out so we can rent it out to someone? But, you won't have to deal with this tenant, they will be separated from you. Yeah. These co-living spaces are, really getting quite popular, especially among singles and younger people who want to move out.
Okay, looking ahead, is this going to be a normal, part of our lives, or is it an ideal for a lot of people?
I think it's going to be slowly normalized. I think that a lot of people are sort of not very happy about how we have to make do with these smaller spaces,
and high prices.
I mean, but I don't really see it really reversing. I don't know how you could reverse it. There's only we unless we like literally, I don't know, we go to space or something. Where is more land?
They're working on it, living in Mars.
Maybe. We have to make do with what we have, and I think the government is trying its best. It's building more flats, but I think people will. Until they get those flats, there's waiting times. My friend is waiting 5 years for her BTO. It's like I think people are just figuring out ways, and they're seeing online. This girl in South Korea, she's got a 75 square foot apartment, and she's showing how she made the best of it and made her own little cozy apartment. So people are seeing examples overseas, like, okay, people are figuring out how to do this. Like I said, there's more multifunctional furniture options. Ideas. So I think people are just taking matters into their own hands. So I do think we'll see more of these sort of like interesting and innovative ideas coming from the ground up, but also, stores and stuff just kind of saying, hey, we've got this option for you. Do you want this bed with a staircase, and it comes with everything, It's got a kitchen underneath the bed too if you want.
Well, thank you so much, Yamini, for joining us here today. The article, very interestingly, is out on the Straits Times, titled How One Singaporean Turned Her Family's Service Yard into her own cozy bedroom. Once again, Yamini from the Straits Times.
Thank you.
Putting the drive in your mornings. The Flying Dutchman in Carrie Chong on the Morning Drive. 1FM 91.3.